And thank you for attending this informational BEAD workforce webinar. My name is Leo Garcia, and I am the Director of Florida Commerce's Office of Broadband within the Division of Community Development. And I am joined today by Jacob Solstrom, our Chief of Broadband Initiatives. Our office is excited for the opportunity to present this information regarding our Connected Florida BEAD program and how we plan to partner with Florida's local workforce development boards and community action agencies to bolster Florida's broadband workforce. A couple housekeeping items before we begin. This webinar is being recorded with closed captioning, and the recording will be made available on our office's broadband website by the end of next week. Additionally, please utilize the chat feature to ask questions, and we will address them at the end of the presentation. To kick things off, I wanted to provide a little background regarding the Office of Broadband. The office was established by the legislature in 2020 to encourage the use of broadband internet throughout the state, distribute grant funds to build new broadband infrastructure to unserved areas, and promote adoption and use of broadband in unserved, underserved, and rural areas of Florida. To date, the office has awarded over $700 million in funding for new infrastructure construction, multi-purpose community facility upgrades, and digital device programs. The office has been allocated over $1.1 billion in funding through the BEAD program to serve all remaining unserved and underserved locations in Florida. This will also be the source of funding for the office's future workforce development, digital literacy, and cybersecurity training efforts. I want to recognize our state partners at the REACH office, RareSource Florida, and the community action agencies, as they have been integral in developing the foundation of our agency's workforce efforts. BEAD is a federal program funded through the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act for broadband infrastructure, digital adoption and use activities, workforce, and economic development. Connected Florida has been working on its initial proposals for BEAD funds, which details Florida's spending plan for the BEAD dollars. Those proposals were recently approved by the federal government, giving Florida the green light to move forward with its BEAD program. Florida's allocation for this program is over $1.1 billion. As we have discussed, Florida's BEAD program will fund both infrastructure deployment and non-deployment programming. The non-deployment program will fund Florida's workforce efforts, which is the subject of today's webinar. The Connected Florida BEAD program represents the state's largest broadband expansion effort to date. With the $1.1 billion in funding, the office will not only fund initiatives for workforce development, digital literacy, and cybersecurity training, but will also provide high-speed broadband internet to every single remaining unserved and underserved location in the state. This funding will be used to supplement over $700 million that has already been awarded through the Office of Broadband Opportunity and Capital Projects Fund programs. The non-deployment funding will go hand in hand with the newly renovated and constructed multi-purpose community facilities and digital device programs funded through the office. BEAD non-deployment will also be supported by the forthcoming Digital Capacity Grant Program, which the office will distribute to fund similar economic development, workforce development, and digital literacy initiatives. The Connected Florida BEAD program will supercharge Florida's broadband workforce pipeline. It will fund the deployment of high-speed, reliable broadband to all of the state's remaining unserved and underserved areas. It will teach end users how to connect with our technology previously unavailable to them, and it will help users protect themselves and their networks. And now I will hand it over to Jacob to discuss BEAD non-deployment.
Thanks, Leo. The Connected Florida BEAD non-deployment plan will put $110 million in funding toward a comprehensive broadband workforce development program and $30 million toward digital literacy skills and cybersecurity training programs to ensure Florida's newly constructed networks are safe. We are also anticipating $70 million through the Digital Capacity Grant Program that will be utilized towards digital literacy, economic and workforce development, and digital navigator programs. The office has been in active conversation with private industry, academia, and other state government partners to develop curriculum frameworks for deployment personnel in advance of BEAD deployment funding. The office is currently holding discussions with industry leaders to get an understanding of their needs to ensure any curricula developed have the private sector in mind, allowing for a greater degree of confidence for job seekers and businesses. The office anticipates opening applications for funding in spring of 2025. BEAD funding will be used in several different ways, including to develop training programs within the state of Florida. BEAD non-deployment funding can be utilized for a number of different types of educational programs depending on your area's specific needs. Some specific initiatives that will be eligible for funding include apprentice and pre-apprenticeship programs, on-the-job training programs, credentialing and certificate programs, purchasing relevant training equipment, tuition costs, and recruiting high-quality, qualified instructors to teach courses. Many of these types of programs in the telecommunications field already exist, and we can use BEAD non-deployment funding to help increase capacity. If we are looking in training materials or content for any of these types of programs, funding can be used to supplement those needs as well. As stated previously, we have been responsive to private industry's needs by working with Moss Tech, Miami-Dade College, and the Florida Department of Education to roll out proven curriculum frameworks. We're still in the early stages of our program, and we welcome your feedback. If you have any ideas that we may have missed, or if you have an innovative program at your institutions that we can draw from, please let us know. We are counting on your support to make this as beneficial for Floridians as possible. We wanted to spotlight a local workforce development board that has been awarded previously for our multi-purpose community facilities program. CareerSource Broward was awarded $3 million for the rehabilitation of the Broward Health Pompano Healthcare Center in Pompano, Florida. This project is led by CareerSource Broward in partnership with Broward Health to increase access to on-site workforce development, including career counseling, job search services, training, and education. This project will also ensure the community has access to comprehensive health care via telemedicine and telehealth services using high-speed broadband internet. The renovation to the Pompano Healthcare Center will include a classroom, computer lab, telemedicine rooms, and a resource room for multifunctional use. This dedicated space is estimated to attract over 3,000 healthcare users annually, with the ability to meet all their healthcare needs. We've included on the slide a picture of one of the floor plans to the third floor of the healthcare center. This project is just one example of how local workforce development boards can utilize our funding to improve their community. This project is a one-stop shop for workforce development, education and training, health monitoring, and economic growth that will benefit Broward County and the surrounding areas for years to come. The office would like to partner with local workforce development boards and community action agencies for on-the-ground implementation of its BEAD workforce plans. As trusted community anchor institutions, your existing relationships with the community you serve are extremely valuable, and the office wants to ensure its funding is used to supplement those relationships to provide value to community members. The office intends to utilize funding to supplement CareerSource's existing in-person digital literacy programming so prospective job seekers can have the digital skills necessary for any future careers in broadband or otherwise. The office also wants local workforce leaders to feel confident in the BEAD workforce programming so that you can speak to local job seekers about upcoming working opportunities in the broadband career field. Next, I would like to speak to the community action agencies who are joining us on the call. Our office may be new to you, but we have heard about the great work you've done with our agency partners at the Bureau of Economic Self-Sufficiency. Through the Community Services Block Grant Program, your agencies have forged important relationships with local workforce development boards in your area. We believe this relationship is key to getting the word out to your communities about these new workforce opportunities. Through this funding and the infrastructure deployment funding, there will be thousands of new jobs created in the fields of fiber and wireless infrastructure construction, as well as IT and tech support, systems administration, customer support, and others. Many of these jobs will not require college degrees, and with the curricula approved by industry and funding from the office, it will be easier than ever for new workers to join the broadband workforce. CAAs will be important for the wraparound services you all provide to your community members, which can be used to complement the new workforce opportunities provided through the BEAD program. CAAs have a strong relationship with the community, which means a referral to an individual from a CAA carries a lot of weight. Establishing a referral system through the CAAs would bolster the office's marketing efforts to make sure as many people as possible are able to participate in these new broadband career opportunities. I'll now hand it back over to Leo to talk about our timeline and next steps for the program.
Thank you, Jacob. As you can see from this slide, we are well into the thick of our BEAD workforce program planning. We have received approval of our proposals from the federal government, and we are constantly engaged with the private sector so that our funding can be used to address their specific workforce needs. Additionally, we'll be hosting a series of technical webinars in the near future that will speak to more specifically to the application requirements, sub-grantee expectations, and our overall funding process. We have tentatively scheduled our non-deployment funding application to open in March of 2025, in advance of the infrastructure application, which we anticipate opening in July of 2025. It is paramount that Florida's broadband workforce be prepared prior to the deployment of BEAD funds to ensure there are no delays in getting service to Florida's unserved and underserved populations. Additionally, we want to make everyone on the call aware of another forthcoming funding opportunity through our office that may be of interest, which is our digital capacity grant. Like the BEAD non-deployment grant, this will provide funding for digital literacy programs, digital device programs, digital navigators, and more. We're anticipating an informational webinar for our digital capacity grant in January of 2025, followed by an open application period in February of 2025. Please subscribe to updates on our website so you can stay in the loop about that and other funding opportunities through the office. At this time, we will take a brief pause to gather and review any questions that may have come during the presentation. And as a reminder, if you have any questions, please type them into the chat feature. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
So we've got a couple questions in the chat here. Linda asked, please review the in-person digital literacy requirement. So our logic with the in-person digital literacy was if a person can't use their device, then they won't be able to attend a virtual digital literacy class. Obviously, it's a little easier to set up a virtual class. So we are going to have at least a handful of in-person digital literacy. That's a requirement just for those individuals. I think we're flexible in terms of supplementing that, or maybe something courses that are more advanced you can handle virtually. But we do want to have, at least as a baseline, we want to make sure that the in-person digital literacy is available to those that need it. But we will make sure to keep that feedback in mind. So thank you for that. We got another question. Rusty Skinner asks, how will client record keeping and data? So we will ask any sub-grantee to keep track of, sort of baseline level data. What's the date of the classes? How many people attended? What types of supplies did you have to purchase? Things like that. And then we have a contracted auditing and compliance monitoring contractor that we work with that handles a lot of the specifics there. So if you do end up subcontracting with our office, then we will you'll be working with them to get a lot of the specifics in terms of the finances dealt with in that way. But yeah, we would ask you guys to keep track of the basics on your own. Okay. Amy out says, where can we get signed up for communications regarding the upcoming digital capacity initiatives? So on our website, which is floridajobs.org/broadband, there will be a button, subscribe for updates, and you'll put in your email address. That will be the way that you can sign up for that. And we encourage everyone on the call to do that. I know a lot of y'all haven't worked with our office yet, so please make sure to sign up for that and you'll get information as quickly as possible. Arlene Dobson asks, thank you for the information. For clarity, community action agencies are to partner with a workforce organization to apply for a grant, or are we partnering to refer customers? Please advise. And yeah, so to the last part of your question, subscribe for updates on our website. We haven't exactly defined specifically the roles of community action agencies and workforce organizations yet. We know that every community action agency is a little different. We didn't want to sort of set hard guidelines for what we need them to do when we know that regionally they each handle things a little bit differently. So we are open to sort of tailoring the agreements based on the specific roles or specific programs, specific relationships with nonprofits or other workforce entities that y'all have. So the referral element is a big part of it, and that's something that we want to do, but we want to make sure that we can supplement the actual specific things that are going on with your communities.
And to add to Jacob's point, again, this is why we're having this informational webinar, because your feedback matters and it will help guide us on how we finalize the development of these programs and the requirements of the application process. So thank you again for these responses and questions. Next question from Scott. Are workforce boards able to partner with secondary education to grow career and technical education in the community? Similar to my response there, Scott, yes. And what Jacob already shared, our expectation is to be able to cater it to where there's flexibility amongst the programs, where we do understand and take the feedback of our entities that we're partnering with to ensure that there's a seamless, process for them to ensure that these dollars get out to the community the way they need to. So great question. Next question from Crest, last name Crespo. Please clarify BEAD with regard to multi-purpose community facilities. What is your definition of a multi-purpose community facility and how does BEAD support it? So for the multi-purpose community facility, this was a grant that we recently awarded to 29 entities throughout the state, where they're already either a library, a nonprofit. These are community facilities that are open to provide services for the three major pillars of telehealth, education, and workforce efforts. So how that coincides with BEAD non-deployment is where these facilities that have already been awarded, or those entities that were not awarded through our multi-purpose community facility, are still open to the development of the workforce development grant that we're opening up. So it goes hand in hand, but it's not just limited to that direct pot of awardees that were given those awards a couple months back.
Linda asks, I believe in-person digital training. I wanted to verify what I heard. Yes, ma'am. Like I said, we're going to be prioritizing in-person, at least initially, and then we will be open to supplementing later on through more virtual training once people have a little bit better understanding of their devices and can log on. But yes, you heard correctly. In person primarily, and then virtual perhaps later on down the road.
Great questions. Thank you again for your engagement. We'll give it a few more minutes to see if we have any further questions come in. All right, we have not received any more questions. Again, I would like to thank you for your engagement and attendance in this presentation. We are eager to continue sharing information about our upcoming grant programs as it becomes available, and to keep moving forward in our vision to expand broadband in the state of Florida, engage with our partners, and advance a connected economy. The webinar recording will be made available on Florida Commerce Office of Broadband's webpage. It should be uploaded by the end of next week. If you have any further questions, please feel free to contact me at leo.garcia@commerce.fl.gov. Thank you.